Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Elseworlds Exchange. I am, of course, your host, Sal, and...
I'm Joel. Hello.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Cape Joel back to the show. Today, we'll be talking about a number of things, including the death of the Justice League and how they never really came back. When I say that, I'm referring specifically to the fact that the last thing that the Justice League did as a team was die.
Yep.
And then the book got canceled, and it hasn't been back in almost 2 years.
Wow, has it really been that long?
Yeah, they died back in 2022. So, but we're going to talk a little bit about that and about why, and maybe about what they could do if they need to do anything. But before we get into that, we want to mention that this show is sponsored by viewers like you. If you're watching the show live, you can sponsor today's show by using a super chat. Ask a question or comment. We'll read it here on the show. I think what the plan right now is I'm going to put all the super chats at the end of the show, so that we can get right into the topic, and then we'll just nail every single super chat at the same time, and we'll be able to then go on tangents and talk about other things without it actually getting in the way of the main topic. And we can also retread any subjects that we may have glossed over or not really delved into when we had our discussion. But before we do that, I should mention, number one, this show is live. Thank you very much for watching the show live. If you want to know when it's coming live, you might want to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, let yourself know that. Also, and this is more in the less housekeeping news and more in the world at large situation, this is the first time that Joel and I have been on camera, and in fact, I believe actually on mic together.
Yeah.
Since the passing of our friend Benny the Comic Historian. I wanted to take just a second because I kind of said I wouldn't make a video about it, and I have held to it, and I'm not going to. I talked a little bit about him on Off the Rack. I don't want to exploit that. I don't find it, it's not how I mourn.
No, it feels gross. It feels wrong. I think you and I both did some really nice tributes in our own way on our social media and other places, and the outpouring of love and support and condolences we've got from, our fan bases, both individual and shared, is, touching and heartening. And, it made a tough time, something that I think we were able to, all kind of come together and, lean on each other about.
Exactly. But I thought it might be nice just for a minute to talk a little bit about Benny and how great a friend he was and how much fun we had together, especially through the lens of this context, like you, me, and Benny, as opposed to like me and Benny doing individual stuff. It's more like, Benny and you and me. I remember when we launched the weekly poll, one of the things that Benny was looking to do almost immediately was expand. He was like, all right, so it's me, Rob, and Sal, but first of all, any other ancillary characters, they found their own niches, they went in their own directions, but who else should we get? And the first name on the list was Joel, and so we brought Joel in, and Joel being a part of the weekly poll really added another element, I think, that made the show that much more fun, and gave Benny and Rob access to you and your professionalism and your personality, and Benny really keyed into that, I think, in a big way, where he was like, this guy is very professional, and he's very funny, and he's very insightful, but that is also a thing I can use to exploit him in a way to make fun of him.
But Benny and I had a very interesting repartee, to the point where I think a lot of people assumed that we didn't like each other off the mic, which, couldn't be further from the truth. Again, I mentioned it elsewhere, but it bears repeating. When I left my last gig at Name Redacted, Benny supported me, and I don't just mean he gave me a pat on the back and said, hey, you should do your own thing. He did that. He also put me on salary, is the thing. I would not have been able to keep going as Cape Joel. Cape Joel wouldn't have existed were it not for Benny bringing me in, making me part of the weekly poll, giving me a platform to expand, letting me ride his coattails to so many big events and make so many industry connections and everything. People will never truly understand how kind he and his wife were to me off mic and everything. And, it's one of those things, where I think about the cruelty and messed upness of time. Because the last time we were all together, Benny brought me in for an episode of Comic Experiment that you guys were doing and everything. He's like, yeah, well, doors always open. Joel, you can come back whenever you want. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be sure to do that. And I never did. And I think that's like a real reminder to people where it's like, you gotta give people their flowers when they can smell them. And you never freaking know what crazy messed up directions time is going to take. I thought I had more time. I really did.
Yeah. Oh no, same. I know exactly how you feel, and I understand that sentiment so deeply. And it's just, we were robbed. The world was robbed, but like we were robbed of our friend, and we didn't know.
And what a weird thing too, where it's like not only did we lose our friend, but our friend was really freaking famous, which means every news outlet and every site was talking about it. So like for 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, I think I'm finding my feet again. I think I'm doing all right. Oh, it's all over TikTok. Oh, it's all over my news feed. It's all over everywhere else. I literally cannot escape this.
No, it was very similar. It actually reminded me, to use a like superhero reference, it reminded me of the beginning of Far From Home.
Yeah, I see his face everywhere.
Everywhere I go, I see his face, and it was very similar. Like the thing that really, like, I remember there was a moment that hit me. It was it was after, because I know his family and I spoke with them and stuff like that. But like in terms of the superficial, like I was scrolling and Phil DeFranco was talking about him.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yeah, I was just like, and I know that like the New York Times actually emailed me and they asked me for quotes and I blew them off. But like Phil DeFranco talked about him, and I was like, "Oh,
that's so funny." You should mention the paper, because I remember actually getting a little incensed about this, and I actually talk about this on Comic Multiverse with Matt, where it's like, man, my faith in legacy media took a beating this week, because it's like you're all talking about my friend. You didn't know him. None of you were calling him Benny, which was his name. That was the name he preferred. You're all like using this weird, like full official government name thing, and all your articles sound the same. You didn't talk to his editors, you didn't talk to his wife, you didn't talk to any of the people who actually knew him. And again, again, to use another thing, I felt like Lisa and Bleeding Gums Murphy. You didn't know him. Nobody knew him.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The people who knew him best, though, were acutely aware of his impact, and
of course,
and mourned him properly. But yeah, it was a real gut punch. And I just I don't want to dwell on it, but I just wanted to give an opportunity for us, like, because it's the first time you and I have been on camera together, and since that happened, and I thought, let's address it at the top, and then we can go back to talking about him off mic.
But we even had a thing like last week where it's like, hey, Jill, do you want to go this week? And I'm like, nah, I'm still kind of messed up. And I was like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, okay, let's just take another week then to compose ourselves and get it together.
Exactly. I was very lucky that I shot a bunch of shows like before, like a week or two before that happened, and so I was just able to put them out. It seemed callous, but like I was like, this is a me that was pre that news, and you and folks who are watching us, they're feeling it too, because there was Benny's reach and impact was inescapable. But like, here's something just to enjoy just for a minute. Just here's an hour.
Totally agree. And and such is YouTube too, where it's like, hey, do you want to make rent this month? And it doesn't matter if it's your birthday, if you suffered a terrible loss, you have to keep going. And the way I justify it to myself is like, Benny was one of the hardest working dudes with one of the greatest work ethics I ever knew. And I know if he was around, he would tell me, hey, stop feeling sad about yourself, Joel. Go do some fucking work. And I did.
It's true. No, Benny would actually be disappointed by how little I used this opportunity. But like, and when I say opportunity, I mean like the opportunity that people have taken upon themselves to exploit. But I'm like, I understand, but one of the things I was never afraid to do was be myself with him. And so we're just continuing that today. Transitioning, I wanted to ask you, before we get into the topic at hand, is there anything coming out right now in the comic book space that you love, that you're like, this is such a good book that either everyone is talking about or no one is talking about, that you think people need to be reading? It's just it's a segment that I'm calling, what are you reading?
This is good. I like this. I'm liking quite a few books at the moment, and that's definitely a telemarketer, so I'm not going to answer that. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man. I mean, how can we not show all the love and appreciation for that book? I mean, Hickman just making it look effortless.
Yes, absolutely. No, the Ultimate Spider-Man series is so good, And it's so good for so many reasons, right? Because it's not just, oh, Hickman's a good writer and he knows story structure. Hickman is also tapping into something that the audience is acutely aware of, which is like, oh, like, I know the world of Spider-Man, and Hickman knows Like, he knows that no one's buying Ultimate Spider-Man that doesn't know the whole history of Spider-Man.
And have thoughts.
Right, and have thoughts about it. But he's very cleverly not making it very, tongue-in-cheek, wink referencey. He's taking things and subverting your expectations in a, like, non-pretentious way that I find, like, just so refreshing. We're in a weird world where, like, this isn't even the United States of America. Like, the United States of America is disbanded.
It doesn't exist in this universe.
Exactly. Like, it is similar to the world, but it is also very different, and it has created very different people. And unlike most alternate reality stories about characters very intimately, this is not like a ripple effect where we're going to give you, it's not like an Elseworlds Batman story, where it's like, it's the exact same universe, but with this coat of paint on it. He's taking characters like J. Jonah Jameson, Uncle Ben, Mary Jane, Peter Parker,
Harry.
Gwen Stacy, Harry, and he's like, this is what these characters would be like in these circumstances, not this is how these characters are, and they're set against these circumstances. And I know that sounds like it's basically the same thing, but like, this is a Gwen Stacy whose father may or may not be dead. I'm actually not sure if Captain Stacy's alive.
Yeah, they haven't explained that yet.
Right, but she never died as a teenager. She never dated Peter.
She became wildly successful.
Right, she became successful. What would that make her now? Especially, and also the fact that, like, they didn't have all the same things that happened to America happen to them, because, of course, Spider-Man is also reflective of the world outside your window. Like, it's just really smart. It's a smart book. And it looks great.
It is, and it's funny. It almost even feels like Hickman challenging himself to buck a lot of his trends, where you look at his era of X-Men and Fantastic Four and New Avengers, where it's like, hey, here's a bunch of high-minded sci-fi concepts, and here's a bunch of graphs and, appendices to show you that I'm not just making stuff up and everything. This seems like such a rebuff of that, where it's like, oh, well, how can Spider-Man ever hope to balance, a family and being a superhero this late in life? Because he does.
Yeah,
because I'm a writer and I wrote it that way. Oh, but how will his family ever accept these things? Because they're good people and he's a good person and they love and trust him. It's just that simple, stupid.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a good book.
All the Ultimate stuff is good too. I'm really liking that Peach Momoko stuff. Ultimates was good too, and I really like the thesis statement for Ultimates, where it's like, yeah, this is a new universe. Everyone gets a second chance. Peter gets a second chance. Pym gets a second chance. These X-Men who never get to see the light of day, everyone gets a second chance here.
That's true. I don't know where he's going with it. That is to say, Hickman, although Ultimates wasn't written by Hickman, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited. Like, it's an interesting universe.
Here's my question. How long do you think Hickman's going to stay on this? Because Hickman seems to be a writer with itchy feet who's always moving on to the next thing. I know my other co-host, Matt, says he's going to do 12. It's going to be 12. We already have the ticking clock of 18 months before the maker comes back. That will be the big event. That will be 12 issues. And then they will hand this stuff off to other people and maybe introduce a new series.
I think that's fair. I think honestly, like, if Hickman does what I think he's going to do, if Hickman does what trends suggest, he's created the universe, he's set it up, he's helped to foster creatives that people can get excited about, and then launches this universe, and he'll do the event, which essentially will be probably shaking off all the Hickman stuff, and then being like, now what you have left is a whole universe with the characters you want to play with, and it's yours to ruin. And honestly, like, that's essentially the formula for X-Men, where it was like, Hickman did this whole thing, he set this whole stage, and then
set the table.
He left. Now, he didn't leave necessarily because he was like, and now, my pretties, enjoy the universe I've created for you. It was conjecture at best. But, like, in this case, he can do that deliberately, where it's like, I created the stage, it's yours to break. And in the X-Men's case, it was like Jerry Duggan going, I'll break it. And then everyone else going like, and we'll help make it look a lot better than it is. Thankfully, we have these 3 British writers who can make it a lot better. But
I like Duggan. He had a lot of thankless tasks and a lot of
Duggan did a lot of good stuff. There is a lot of good that Duggan did, but I think
Captain Krakoa, Urich, recentering on Cyclops, having Sync be such a big, important character, which I never thought I'd see.
True. But if you left it to Duggan, if Duggan didn't have the support of Ewing, Spurrier, Gillen,
what a weird time was it too? It's like, and here's the main X-Men book. It's not as exciting as the other ones, but it's the main X-Men book,
right? Well, and that's what's so funny is like the reason why it's not as exciting, I think, is because it was very much the most superhero book in the line,
and that was clearly the marching orders.
Yeah, make it, please, just make it like the rest. Like, it's the most Marvel book out of all of the X-Men books that were coming out. But anyway. The other book I wanted to mention was just World's Finest. Batman Superman World's Finest from Mark Waid and Dan Moore is just phenomenal.
I missed the boat on this. I've heard such great things from you and Matt. I've completely missed the boat on this one.
Yep. There's 28 issues. It'll be a quick read for you, I promise. But the reason why I even bring it up is because basically Batman Superman World's Finest is the Justice League book at this point.
Yes, that was another thing I was going to bring up, but yes.
Yeah, it's basically just Justice League. It is a flashback book, though. It has no contemporary stuff. It's all set in the past, but it's also working, selling, and beloved. And it's the tone, it's the feel, it's the fun that people want from a Justice League book. Now, why are we even talking about Justice League? Well, the reason I even brought up Justice League, the reason why I wanted to make it a topic for today's show is because Justice League was a title that I think was having problems long before Williamson decided to kill them and DC decided to end the book.
Oh, definitely. I would say from the New 52 era onward, it had been a lot of, compounding problems.
Absolutely. I mean, from the fact that it was used to foster and develop Scott Snyder's initiative, which makes sense on paper, but did
at the time.
Yeah, and it worked in as much as it was also a foundational brick that helped build the house of metal for Scott and for DC, and it resulted in dividends. The metal wars were financially successful, but I
liked the book at the time. Hey, we brought back Hawk Girl. Here's Martian Manhunter being important again. Yeah, we're gonna end up dusting most of that stuff away when it's done, and we'll never mention it again. Like, hey, didn't Lex know Martian Manhunter as a little boy? Yes, but also shut up about that. And also, wasn't his father part of some secret metal society? Yeah, but we're not going to mention that again.
Yeah, we're never going to mention that again. And it also propelled Jorge Jimenez further as well. Not like Jorge Jimenez ever needed the help, but like that book looked very good. And
always
it was always some fantastic talent on that series during that time. But I think that Justice League is a tough book to crack, and it has been pretty much forever, like since its inception. Especially when you think about people's suggestions for how to make the Justice League work. Whenever I cast this question out into the ether, invariably, I hear essentially one prevailing voice, which essentially tells me that it's probably not financially viable. And because there's a little like metric out there, which is that if it's popular on Twitter, it probably won't sell. But the concept being people are tired of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Right.
Like they're tired of the original 7 or the classic 7. I don't want to say original because it really wasn't the original. But people are tired of seeing their biggest superheroes on one team. They want to get back to basics. And when they say basics, they mean the basics of the 80s. Please give us back the Justice League International.
Which again, if that was the case too, I'm like, well, then why didn't Justice League Dark stick around for longer than it did? If that's the case, why didn't all these different attempts at Justice League of America stick around longer there? You all say you want these things, but y'all don't vote with your wallets by the sound
That's true.
of it.
Well, that Justice League of America book for New 52 was just like a baffling display. Like that was a weird, weird coincidence of a book. Where
and then they tried it. And then they tried it again later with a CW equivalent hero. So you had Green Arrow and Killer Frost and some other, which I like that lineup. Actually, I very much dug that team. I would sink my teeth into that team if you'd let me.
Well, I like the idea of switching up the team or providing Justice Leagues that look diverse and interesting and drastically different from what you expect. But I also recognize that doesn't sell very well. And I also
then there was the Space Justice League too, with like Cyborg and Azrael and Starfire and shit.
Oh yeah, I didn't read a lot of these random Justice League
books. No one remembers these exactly.
Yeah, but also when you don't do that, like when you don't provide a baseline of the original team, and instead deviate, your sales suffer. And eventually, you need a Doomsday to show up and beat the crap out of them and replace them with the real team.
Yes, stakes and upholding drama is always a big thing. Well, it's like, well, you need a problem big enough to justify bringing together your biggest, heaviest hitters in the universe, and not have it be an event and not detract from events, because we'll be doing one of those every year. So you better watch out.
Well, that's true, and I think the other problem, and I think it's an issue that Scott had with his Justice League, and an issue that the Justice League has had since Grant Morrison wrote it, which is that everyone's...
And Bendis had a Justice League run in there too. Black Adam, everyone. Remember that? No, you don't. Exactly.
Yeah, I did read that book, and it was awful. But I think that, especially DC, especially with DC, there's an issue when it comes to chasing Grant Morrison.
And for sure. Always.
It is a shame because the Grant Morrison run was so good and it was so celebrated. And they did such a fantastic job of providing you with a team that you like and that you recognize, that has the heavy hitters, while also introducing you to random pockets of cameos and surprises and
like
alternate heroes. Yeah, like Aztec or Plastic Man being a formative member of the team, but also providing event-like arcs, where every single arc of Justice League under Grant Morrison and subsequent writers throughout that period, like Mark Waid, who would provide these like big epic stories that were so brief and so impactful to its line, but not necessarily to the universe. But back then,
and yet so evergreen.
Yes,
but Rock of Eternity comes to mind.
Right. Rock of Eternity, World War III. When we're talking about Mark Waid, Tower of Babel.
And the way people think about these, like, oh, you remember that big event? That was an event. That was a story.
That was just like a 4 to 6 issue like story. Yeah. I think the closest we got was John's doing Justice League in the New 52, but I honestly, I think the reason why anybody really remembers that run is because Jim Lee was drawing it.
Which, it was beautiful. And also, people were reading that because it's like, well, I need to know how all of this fits together in the New 52. I need to know how this makes sense. They said this is the book that would make sense of it. It didn't.
No, well, that's, of course, because, as we know, there was no roadmap, there was no plan, there was no cohesion or consistency when it came to the New 52. It was a half-cocked idea that was formulated within the year that it came out, and there were marching orders, but they weren't consistent along the entire line. And so as a result, like, some people are marching to one beat while others are marching to another. And as a result, you had conflicting series and conflicting origins. And
we're making it up as we go along.
Yeah. Which is like, I mean, that is comics, but it's not exactly what you should do when you have decades of history in the back of your mind and you're creating a brand new universe. Like, it's easy when you're Stan and Jack and Steve and you're making a whole new universe and you don't have any baggage. Like, we can make it up as we go, and we'll still have inconsistencies. But when you have 80 years worth of DC history and then you're like, oh, we're going to throw it all away and then we're going to make it up as we go,
which
you're going to have people asking questions.
Yeah, and it also makes it impossible to revisit now, too. Why would I ever go revisit the New 52 Justice League stories? None of it matters. It's this weird point in time that got completely erased because they just brought all the old continuity back anyway.
None of it matters. None of it makes any sense. None of it was terribly great.
No.
It wasn't even like, there's the Batman Superman book that I think was drawn a lot by Jay Lee and stuff. Like,
yes,
that's a book that I imagine is excellent. And I'm sure you could revisit it, but it's also mired in its own continuity. Yeah, it was like, what a good idea. But it's also like, it's tough. Like I find that Batman Superman book trade paperback in dollar bins every year.
Yeah.
Every year. I'm like, there it is, that really good looking book. But I'll never read it. So the problem with Justice League, I think, is that there is a problem with the Justice League. I think there is an issue when it comes to people's enthusiasm and excitement and fervor for the Justice League that you don't have with like an Avengers. You know,
which Avengers has its own problems too. I would also like to say that I am currently not reading Avengers right now, even though everybody loves McKay. Blood Hunt is fun because McKay gets to concentrate on the characters he likes. Yes. I like Moon Knight. I like Doctor Strange. I like Blade. And the Avengers are here too. They're hanging out.
Oh yeah, and I'm writing that too. If you want to read that, and they're like, no thanks. And it's true. Like, no, I don't read Avengers. I wasn't reading Avengers under Aaron. I read the first issue of McKay's Avengers, went up more of the same, and just dropped it.
I have tried so hard to really like these and really try and get into them, and every time I'm like, well, this isn't giving me what I want.
That's right, and I think that the Avengers also suffered because like I was having the same reaction to the New Avengers line, lowercase n for New Avengers, that I did when Avengers was the classic stuff in the 90s and 80s, because I was like, I don't care about any of the things that are happening. Like it turns out I'm not an Avengers fan. The only thing I want is New Avengers because it has like big characters that I like, which makes me think, shouldn't I like the Justice League? Because the Justice League is so rarely falling into the Avengers trap of, well, no, we got to prop up these characters whose books we can't sell. They're the Avengers, people. That's the only place you're going to get Vision, in Witch, unless Scarlet Witch gets another miniseries no one will buy every other year for some reason. But these are the characters that are Avengers. They keep trying. They keep pushing Scarlet Witch. God bless them.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll never read it.
Going to take eventually.
I hope so. I look forward to hearing about it 4 issues after I don't read it. But
right, isn't that the thing? It's like, man, that was great, and canceled right away.
Yeah, I mean, and
that's why when they make reference to. It's why when they make reference to stuff where it's like, oh, and she's the living Darkhold now. When the fuck did that happen? Oh, in one of the several minis I didn't read. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like, look, I read some books. Like I read the books that I'm telling you don't sell, and I'm telling you I wasn't drawn into them. It wasn't just me going, I'll never read that out of hand. Sometimes that's true. Occasionally that's true. But anyway, we're getting off topic. The Justice League. This is a problem that I have with the Justice League where, like, shouldn't I love the Justice League because they have all the heavy hitters on them?
Right.
Maybe it's because the heavy hitters hit too heavy. Maybe it's because the Justice League has had a great run or 25 years ago.
Is it because the book is always straining to involve everyone to be a team book? Is that why? Where it's like, I'm reminding him, like, well, what are some Justice League stories I really love that are kind of evergreen to me? Obviously, the Morrison run, as we mentioned. I also always kind of circle back to the animated series where it's like, oh, not every episode featured every member of the team, and they weren't long. They were like 2 to 3 episodes at most, and they would focus on one character and be like, okay, this is their focus.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that is good television. That's good smart writing that they knew what to do with. I mean, like the Justice League show, there's so many ways we could actually list. That's like, what is the problem and why don't people embrace/read the Justice League? And why is it no one's clamoring for a new Justice League book now that it has been off the shelves for 2 years? And I think we can add things like, it had a brilliant show that most people prefer. It had epic runs that have had no equal in 20 years. The offerings that it has given were subpar, or at the very least felt similar to something else that I like better.
Or felt very editorially driven, where it's like, why are you reading Justice League? Well, because I need to read it to understand the next big summer event, because it's going to be spinning out of here, and that's what it's all leading up to. Oh, well, that doesn't sound like they're making for fun individual stories then if they're just building up to something they're going to be doing in the summer.
And that's the problem, I think, even with the Scott Snyder run, which I remember Scott like promoting it, being like, I want to bring it kind of similar to the cartoon show. I'm using that original team, and we're going to have arcs that are similar to Grant Morrison. And it's true, they were, but also there was this big undercurrent of, we're building towards this other thing.
Yeah, all roads lead to metal. And again, hey, there was some good stuff in there. That Shiera Hawkworld story they did where they finally fixed her character and just said we're fusing them together. They're the same thing. I'm like, this is good. I like this. I'm gonna remember this, and I did.
Yeah, the Sixth Dimension story arc was really fun.
Oh yeah,
but even that one was about like at the end of the day, it was also like we're building towards something. Oh no, like but if you just remove that element, you get something really cool. But again, there's a hypocrisy there for me where it's like, but Sal, what about every single New Avengers arc that was leading towards every single event throughout the story? You know what I mean? Like every single New Avengers trade is about them leading towards Civil War or Secret Invasion or Siege. Every single one is every single issue of New Avengers is a tie-in to an event that Bendis is either writing or supporting.
Yeah, it was basically inescapable at that era.
Yeah, but why do I prefer it? And why do I hate his Justice League?
Right? Like, shouldn't that be the thing? And yet it never came together.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have an answer for that, but I can say definitively that there is a problem with the Justice League overall because there is a lack of enthusiasm for the team. The DC universe does not feel bereft.
No.
Now.
They really don't. Yeah, that they've been gone for 2 years. And there's really many reasons for that. When we say the Justice League died, what we really means is they died as an entity. The characters are still around, and whenever there's a big event, they all still come back together because how do you expect Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash to not show up when there's a problem? Oh no, Failsafe is attacking. Better bring in the Justice League. Oh,
literally.
Yeah, even for Absolute Power, the big event that's going on right now, who's on the cover? It ain't the Titans. It ain't the people who are supposed to take their place and become the premier super team. It's the OG Justice League.
Yeah. You also have a problem when you take the League off the table, you elevate the Titans, but the League is coming back because inevitably they never stay gone. The Titans will never be top dog. And in order to bring right, but even if you bring the League back, you have to diminish the Titans as a result. And so you have shaken confidence in the Titans ever being at that level again. Like it's almost like the Krakoa problem where it's like you're going to be like, man, one day I hope the X-Men get their country back. But you also know they just did it, and so they're not going to want you to think about that. And so it's going to be decades before they do that. And even then, you're only going to be influenced by a story that's going to happen that was influenced by hype around that 20 years ago. Like, it's just, it's a snake eating its own tail. It's sort of you're not going to get that.
It is, and it's one of those ideas too where I think, oh, we're going to elevate the Titans. Nightwing and all of them, they're finally going to take center stage. They're going to start leading the DC universe. It's going to be real, actual, organic growth. That sounds great on paper, but I don't think they fully thought it through because it's like, oh, well, where are the Justice League going? Oh, they're going to stay here though. They're going to still stay here. They're going to still have their own books and adventures. Oh, you probably should have concocted a reason for them to leave. You probably should have sent them to space or another universe so they couldn't keep just showing up when it's like, oh, Beast World, people are turning into animals. Oh, here's Batman, everyone. Oh, Lazarus juice is raining from the sky. Oh, here's everyone else. I will give Wade and Lazarus Planet credit. For a second there, they actually tried to address it where Damian's like, oh no, my father has been, possessed by the devil and everything. What am I going to do? Well, I need to put together an ad hoc team. I've got Power Girl and Supergirl and Blue Beetle. You're not the Justice League. I gotta rock with you, I guess. And I'm like, cool, giving them the spotlight, cool, showing characters we don't normally see. It lasted one story.
Right. Well, and I'm sure there's a good reason for that. Maybe because Lazarus Planet sold like crap.
It was a bad story.
And it wasn't great. But like, I don't know. It's weird that we're in a place where just pre-movies, right? Pre-movie influence. The Justice League is a more iconic team than the Avengers.
Yeah.
In the zeitgeist, people recognize the Justice League more than the Avengers.
Even if they call them the Super Friends.
Even if they call them the Super Friends, which is a thing they have to shake off. Like it's a problem that Aquaman had forever and still today has to deal with, even though at least there is a 2-movie franchise that like helped to make Aquaman seem like a badass. But yeah, they have to shake off that problem too. Like the cultural consciousness at large. It's like, I wonder what's worse. Everyone thinking your brand that you're trying to get everyone to get on board with is a dopey cartoon called the Super Friends, or absolutely no context whatsoever.
Right.
Like with the Avengers, where it's like, I don't know what that is. Isn't that weird movie with Sean Connery?
Yeah, isn't that British series? No.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, it's also called that. But yeah, all it takes is a good movie.
Yeah,
and
everything.
Right. So while I do say that a lot of my perception of the Justice League's absence and irrelevancy is colored by my own opinions thereof, I also want to support some alternatives for how the Justice League can return and return with enthusiasm without it also being a whimper. Like, you don't want the Justice League book to come out, right? Because here's the problem DC has. DC has a Titans book that is fine. And it is not the premier book. It wants to be the premier book because they said it was, but it doesn't feel like DC believes in it because I don't see it pushed everywhere.
No,
and maybe because Beast World was such a dud.
Which I enjoyed Beast World because at least, the Titans had skin in the game on that one. At least that one was about them. Here's the thing. Do you think people would have accepted it more if instead of Tom Taylor just writing the Titans book, if they just called it Is Justice League? It's Nightwing and his people. They're the new Justice League now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, people would be talking about it. Now, I don't think it would have been, there's no guarantee. It's not like, if you change the name Titans to Justice League, or you make the Titans into the Justice League, you will solve the problem. Because you will have actuallys out there who will say, well, remember when the Titans were the Justice League at that one random story? And it's like, yeah. The problem is you also need to back it up from a publisher standpoint and a creative standpoint. Now, Tom Taylor on Justice League and the Justice League is the Titans. That's cool. But you also have to give them epic stories that are 4 to 6 issues long a piece, that also showcase the Titans being the League in events. Like, you need you need the 1-2 punch of like epic stories that work and events that elevate the team. They didn't do that, or rather they did, but Beast World was such a weird thing, and it was a bridge too far because we'd already had Lazarus Planet and Night Terrors.
I know, they were also, oh my god, fucking I forgot. And also, too, hey, the Justice League showed up for Night Terrors, too. They were still there.
Of course they did. Now, Night Terrors did. It wasn't necessarily just a League book. Every member of the League had their own title within Night Terrors,
which hijacked everything.
Right, but the book was about, like, Deadman, basically.
Yes, it was a secret stealth Deadman book, which honestly, the more we talk about this and more I think, is there any problem that is more central to our generation right now? Man, these young characters, they can't ever advance. They can't ever take their place in the great circle there because these fucking boomers refuse to retire and leave.
I know. Like, I think there's a problem. I think there might be a point to be made, and it could have been made in the year that DC was doing whatever they wanted. Like, I don't know what is done at DC right now. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. I thought that like Brainiac was going to affect the entire DC universe, but it's just a Superman crossover. Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess
fine.
That's cool.
I dig it.
It's fine. I'm down with that. But like, that is not what you said. Like, when you release that graphic, that is not what this is.
No, Amanda Waller has many problems and many robots.
Great. I don't know. It's weird. And so what is the solution? I mean, honestly, the frustrating thing is the solution is a great big movie.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
You need two things, right? You need a great book and a great big movie, like to fix the Justice League's irrelevancy and to get the Justice League, into the hearts and minds of the public. Like, you need a movie people are excited about.
Pop culture subconscious.
Yeah. You need something that shakes things up, but in a way that is also genuinely good. It can't just be like, oh, like it's the Justice League, but everyone is an alien or something. It can't be just a gimmick. It has to be like a genuine effort that also is supported by the line, which of course is every successful book. Is just like, well, as long as you have a good creative team and the support of your editors, then I guess you'll be fine. Yep.
Not always.
Not always, but like that is the recipe. That is a recipe I would rely on. But yeah, no, they should have. I mean, looking back, Titans and the Justice League brand would have been more successful if they had just made the Justice League from the Titans.
Yeah. Looking back on it, and again too, it's like, you know, what was your marching order here? I know we as fans have said forever that we want the Titans to be more central, that we want them to be more important. I think that was a feel good moment at the end of Dark Crisis that everyone was excited for, but I don't think they really thought it through and really planned with how they were going to make that work.
Right? I agree. I don't think they thought it through. It's weird. So here's my question to you.
If we just say it, and if we just take the Justice League book away, then surely all the pieces will fall into place.
Right. Well, we'll remove at least, you know, on one hand, I do appreciate that, you know, not the lesson, because it wasn't really a lesson at the end of Dark Crisis, but it was like, we're leaving the Justice League book off the table. You know, that's a bold move. It's a move. Fair. It's like a 90s move. It's a move Fair. Where I'm like, I'm kind of impressed you did it. They were like, we're going to elevate the Titans and we're going to remove the Justice League because the Titans are the Titans and we don't need them to be the League because they're already a good brand. You know, see, we have shows named after them and people love them and fans support them. So let's just elevate the Titans from a, you know, B team to the A squad. And it's like, okay, I guess that would work. Unfortunately, what you learned in that hiatus is that nobody really cares. Like, no one's asking for a Justice League book back.
Now, that being said, I have actually had a couple people complain to me in my comments and get quite indignant, being like, oh, when are the Justice League going to come back? You know, oh, I'm so sick that we don't have a Justice League book. I'm like, why? They're still here. They're still active. Right. They didn't go anywhere. Right? They just don't exist as an entity anymore. They just don't have they still show up for every event. They never left.
Yeah, they don't have a base, they don't have a book, and they don't have a story. But every member of and we've touched on that already, like the fact that there is a league, the league is just the big hitters of the DC universe teaming up. And they do that anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are we doing? So my question to you is, how do you fix it? How do you get people excited outside? I mean, obviously, notwithstanding the movie aspect, because of course, with the implication of Superman by James Gunn, we're seeing, you know, cameos of characters, almost none of whom are Justice Leaguers. Most of them are JSAers, but I think, with the exception of Guy Gardner. And if you actually put that lineup together, you get a league that looks a lot like the Giffen, DeMatteis, McGuire Justice League International,
geez, Gunn, well, what era are you a fan of? When were you reading comics?
G. Willikers, I bet I could probably carbon date it. But also, if you're going to put, like, Superman isn't going to lead a Justice League with Guy Gardner on it, right? You're going to have a Doomsday or something come in and beat the crap out of them and replace them with the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman Justice League that you know and love, which could work. It could work, but notwithstanding the movies, what should DC Comics do? Oops, I said DC Comics. Sorry, DC.
Yes,
because I know they don't like
it's all one entity
comics.
Now.
Yeah, but DC. What should the comic arm of DC do to make the Justice League brand exciting?
I mean, the fact that it's been 2 years without them helps. I am a firm believer that absence makes the heart grow fonder. I can't miss you if you don't go away. And the Justice League has gone away. So maybe keep rocking with it just for a little bit longer till people really miss it. So when you do come back, that everyone's really excited about it. Because it's like, oh, Justice League, haven't had that. But I was really excited when they brought back Batman and Robin. And I'm like, good. We haven't had a Batman and Robin book for like a decade. This is good.
Yeah, and it's a good book.
Yeah, it is.
Even though Josh is leaving the books.
He is, which again, I totally understand citing burnout. It's like, yeah, man, you're a machine. You are one of the most consistent writers with one of the longest tenured things ever. You deserve a break, man. You really do. Yeah. I worry about your health.
Right? Yeah, but like, what do you do? So your suggestion is, if it has been away for 2 years and no one's really asking for it, wait another 2 years and maybe they'll really ask for it.
Yeah, wait it out a little bit, and then hopefully by then, maybe the James Gunn universe will be rocking. Maybe you'll have some new inspiration in there, and then maybe, you know, maybe someone will have an idea. Maybe someone will have actually thought, because like, just gun to my head right now, what do you do? I don't know. What can you do that hasn't already been done?
I mean, I don't. I think that the fallacy there is trying to find something that hasn't been done, right? Because at the end of the day, old ideas aren't necessarily bad ideas, and especially in
No.
the comic book industry. But I fear for the suggestion that we just keep kicking the can down the road. Now,
that's someone else's problem. That's another regime's problem.
But you are tapping into something that is also a problem, or would be a problem if you did something that I would suggest, which is get a baller creative team, make a big splash, market the hell out of it, and do like a world tour of interviews and conversations about the book, and make the book, Morrisonian in terms of like it's got these 6-issue arcs, like basically write for the trade. You write trade at like volume 1 is a story, volume 2 is a story, volume 3 is a story. And while yes, you could read them in order, you could also read them out of order and it would still work. That would be my like quick and dirty suggestion. But the problem is when they get that movie going, they are going to reboot the book.
Oh, naturally, 100%.
Like if it works, if what I suggested works, where it's like you get a baller creative team and you basically just make the book a must read. You make it an indispensable reading experience where it's like if you want to see the biggest, most bombastic stories happening to DC, you have to be reading Justice League.
Yes, and that's a problem too the series has had. It hasn't been must read in a long time. Like I would say it was must read during the Snyder era because again, we were building up to something. If you wanted to see certain character story, this is the only place you could see them.
That's also true. It's like if you want to see what's up with Plastic Man, you're going to have to read Justice League because that's the only book he's in, right?
Yeah.
But there's two solutions. I have two avenues. But again, they all will inevitably be disrupted by a movie. The movie is going to make them throw everything away and then start over.
Start from scratch, yeah.
Which I understand their motivation. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get why they would do it.
The timetable might work out there because what is it? We reboot all of DC like what every 5 to 8 years now. Every 10 years, everything goes back to issue number 1 anyway. So hey, if we wait long enough, maybe we'll have another big crisis in time and start everything back from zero.
I mean, that's very true. You could wait if you wait another like couple of years. We could have Justice League launch along with another with Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman number ones. Like all of them will be number ones, also there's a Justice League book. But
look, their costumes are what they're wearing in the movies. How about that?
Oh, who'd have thought? The other solution I have is when Wade is done with World's Finest, you transfer the book and make it Justice League World's Finest or Justice League, Justice League.
That seems like the avenue, and also he's writing Absolute Power right now, which almost seems like a dry run for that.
Yeah, but you call Justice League Alpha or something like that, and it's just World's Finest, but with more Justice Leaguers. It's just you watch the early days of the Justice League through the lens of Mark Waid and Dan Mora.
So it's
and that's the book
now.
So it's because Batman, Superman, World's Finest, like they're just telling you stories that happened in the past, but you can read it in linear order, and it all tells one big story. Do the exact same thing with Justice League, but it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash. Like it's just, and you could and let Wade pick the era, and then you set it then, and you just have Dan Mora draw the shit out of it, and you're happy. Like that. But again, that's a flashback book.
Right, exactly. It doesn't really do anything in the here and now for you, does it? I mean, it would probably be a massive success.
I would hope, but like Batman Superman World's Finest was not a massive success when it launched. It took people reading it and Dan Mora's stock to rise for people to really like get into it. But, Batman Superman World's Finest is basically the best Justice League book on the shelves right now. And
that's the general feeling I'm getting, even as someone who's, like I said, missed the boat on it. You're singing its praises. My other co-host, Matt, is singing its praises.
Yeah. But that is one way. That's the easiest way to do it. Is just to be like, Batman Superman World's Finest ends at issue 30, and Dan Mora and Mark Waid will return in Justice League, like
whatever.
Worlds, something like that. And it just keeps going. And it's just more of the same, but we don't focus on Batman and Superman together. We focus on Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman and everybody else. Because they're already also showing up in World's Finest anyway. So it's not like
there you go.
Not a Justice League book anyway. But I honestly would rather see a Morrisonian approach to the Justice League. I'm not saying get Grant Morrison, because I also think that there's a problem when it comes to leaning on the top writers
over and over again and going back to the same well.
Right, like, I was looking at a Wizard magazine not long ago, as I want to do, and I was looking at, like, the top 10 writers and artists of the year I was looking at, and you have to understand, folks, Wizard magazine folded in, like, 2010. So, we're talking at least 15 years old. But the magazine I was looking at was probably more like 20 plus years old. And if you were to get the writers and artists from the top 10 list of that ancient Wizard magazine, and you were to announce that that lineup was doing books for some initiative today, it would sell. It's the same damn people.
Yeah, I noticed that. The list of those writers has changed very little over the years. They're only getting older. I know there was a rumor there where it's like, hey, will X writer possibly be taking the reins on Spider-Man? And I had to stop and look and like, how old is that guy? Oh my God, he's just a couple years younger than my dad. Holy shit. Would he be the oldest guy ever to take that book if he did? Why are our comic writers so old now? Why have we done so little to facilitate new, fresh, young blood in these titles? Is that a reason why these books feel so out of touch? Because they're being written by people who are looking down the barrel of 60.
I mean, yeah. But also because the comic book industry is super entrenched and very niche and very
deeply
incestuous, and they're also very much like their own little like club, and they help themselves and each other. I mean, like there are exceptions to the rule, obviously. You know, like Philip Kennedy Johnson is a younger character. You know,
Snyder and all the people he opened the door for, obviously, were very Snyder,
young. James, you know,
Marguerite, all of them.
Josh, you know, like there's younger folks, but and of course, like the art pool skews younger than the writing
naturally
pool, certainly.
That they got fresh young wrists and everything.
Exactly. But I do feel like, we're in a weird place where we are way too reliant on what we knew worked and not what we need to embrace to go forward. Like, you know, can you imagine if, like, when Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti and company were helping to revolutionize Marvel under Bill Jemas, and they were like, well, you know what we got to do? We got to get Marv Wolfman. You know,
back again.
Like we got to get the people who made DC, who put DC on the map. Like,
Marv Wolfman's Marvel Knights,
right? Like Marv Wolfman, Len Wein, and Chris Claremont, and those three are gonna.
Who we all love, by the way. We're not.
By the way, and they're all amazing, and I love them.
Still and working today, most of them.
The ones that are alive, but like it's yes. But Marvel would not be where it is today without infusing the line with young blood,
without taking
all
chances.
Lowercase W's or lowercase letters. But yeah, so I mean, for my Justice League pitch, it's like I do think you need to get someone exciting or an exciting pair. It's why I went with Mark Waid and Dan Mora. Someone
with a unique voice, with a unique vision,
right? But when it comes to like that other thing where it's like you got to Grant Morrison again, you got to get somebody young, you got to get somebody hungry, you got somebody with a new or fresh take on this thing that has
hopefully with something to say,
that also has like not necessarily reverence, but at least respect, like some kind of undermining of respect for the material. You know?
Yeah.
So it's a rat's nest.
It is,
and it's not an easy fix. It's not like we sound like it's an easy fix because we're just armchair suggestions. But like
we're spitballing here. It's not our money. It's not our jobs on the line.
Exactly. So jumping into some super chats before we get to the next thing. Call Me Jay helped us out. Thank you very much, Call Me Jay. Josh Rowland, Ayo. It's payday, so here's some tribute to my favorite YouTube duo. I'd love to see the Justice League come back, but let some of the Titans graduate to the league.
Yeah, that seems like that probably should have been a more obvious thing. Why is Starfire not on the league? She is a massive heavy hitter. Why is she not on the league?
There is I want to say it was actually not in mainline continuity, but there's a line that I love, and it was when Batman like introduces Dick to the Titans, basically when they form the Titans, and Batman turns to Dick, where he's like, I need you to be better. I need you to lead. I need you to do this. And, to prepare for the League. And he's like, oh, wait, one day I'm going to be on the Justice League. And he says, no, one day you will lead it. Like, I want to see that day.
Same.
But, I want it to mean something and not be a weird stunt. I want it to just be true.
And I think that's what we all thought this era was going to be, and it kind of didn't end up being that.
I don't even know if we thought it, because we didn't have enough time to even get our bearings before we found this like baffling period of the Justice League in DC, where we're like, I wanted to get excited about the Titans being elevated, and I love that moment in that Nightwing book where they move Titan's Tower to Bloodhaven. But
it's great, yeah.
But like, but where is it reflected everywhere else? And it's like, technically it is, Wonder Woman refers to Superman, and Superman refers to Batman, and Batman refers to Wonder Woman.
Oh, there's connective tissue for sure.
Yeah, there is a little bit of ping-ponging when it comes to continuity, but why don't I feel it in my heart?
Because they never left. That's what it really, I think, comes down to. It's because the Justice League never left. They're still there.
Yeah. I guess that's why we like that whole Dark Crisis where the Justice League is dead, and so they're like, we need to step up. And I'm like, that's the time when the Titans were supposed to step up. But instead, they formed this really weird half-assed Justice League that doesn't do anything.
With Black Adam there, because he's got a movie, and he's going to change the hierarchy of power, so we should all really be listening to Black Adam right now, everyone. And then the movie freaking bombed by the end of Dark Crisis. And Black Adam's literally like, I am going back to my home country now. Goodbye.
I'm not in favor of like changing old work, but if I were the editor of Dark Crisis in future reprintings, I would cut out the people's eyebrow panels.
Yeah.
Where Black Adam like looks at Superman like, like I would cut that out. But anyway, Hulkzilla is wishing you guys a good weekend. Thank you very much, Hulkzilla. Appreciate it. The Space Cowboy, hope you guys are doing great as always. To add on to this, the Titans were supposed to take their place for this period, but they are definitely not being utilized the way they should have been. I think that's definitely the prevalent theory, because as Joel pointed out multiple times, like, they never left. So why would I call Beast Boy when I could call Superman?
He's still around. And also, like, Taylor finds himself in this weird position, too, where, like, he has to make them the premier super team, but he also needs to make a Titans book that will appeal to Titans fans, who are some of the most hardcore of the fans out there. It's like, hey, if I don't get my soap opera, if I don't get my, them all bouncing off each other and having interrelationship drama, I'm going to be really pissed. I'm going to let you know about it. So they need to be the main team. They need to be the new Justice League, but they still need to be the Titans, and they still need to appeal to Titans fans who are very, very particular.
Now, I appreciate the intent behind what you said there, Joel. I do. I genuinely believe that is a thought that occurs to a lot of very beloved and supported creators. The idea that you have to make sure to keep the fans happy / consider the fans when it comes to writing your fan favorite series. But if Amazing Spider-Man is any indication, I would argue, and I'm not necessarily saying don't do fan service, though fan service is not a term people use glowingly.
No.
I'm saying that maybe you would keep the old fans and make new fans if you stopped trying so hard to make the old fans happy.
I mean, that's the immortal push and pull battle of comics, isn't it?
Right. Like, I'm not saying that necessarily that the old fans are incapable of being satisfied or happy, but older fans, by and large, I think, are looking for an end point, whether they know it or not. Like, they've been loyal fans for decades, and they've read these stories forever, and they've gotten to this point where they are like, I have enjoyed these stories for my entire life, and now I'm in a different phase in my life, and I'm ready for them to be as well. Could you please end? And when they don't, or they retread, or they go back, it makes us crazy. because comic books are not reflective of our lives, and they don't grow and change, and they don't grow and age with us. So as a result, like
we give you the illusion of change. That's what we're selling you. We're selling you the illusion of change.
Yeah, it is a soap opera. Like at the end of the day, like a beloved villain of a soap opera will die because that's what happens to our bones, and
status quo is returned to.
Yeah, but maybe he'll be a ghost, like because it'll never stop. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if that was the solution. I think maybe like the new Justice League run needs to be like, I hope the old fans like it, but that's not what we're doing. Maybe Titans would be more exciting. Maybe people would have been more quick to embrace the Titans if Tom Taylor was less precious. I don't know.
Justification, when the book comes back, you're going to need a really good justification now because it's been away for so long. What is the impotence? What is the inciting incident to bring the Justice League back now?
Yeah. What? Now, here's the thing. For me, one of my favorite issues of Justice League is that Jeff Johns story of the team deciding to come back and who's going to be on the team.
That is a good one.
I love a good recruitment issue. And Likewise. It's one of my favorite issues of an Avengers book is watching them go, here is everyone in our universe who deserves to be on our team, but who's actually going to be on the team. And I love that shit. I am a sucker for it. Honestly,
my favorite moment in every heist movie.
Right? You got to get the team together. Now, I think that the Justice League needs to be a combination. Like, I think today the Justice League can't ignore its Avengers influence, and it's like you got to have a day that comes that is unlike any other, and it assembles as a result of it. And that team may look similar to the Justice League, but it won't be the Justice League the way you know them today. MX Self-Destruct, just want to throw some love to my two favorite comic tubers in honor of Benny, without whom I probably never would have found you guys. Thank you, Self-Destruct. Appreciate it, man. Sal, any chance we get JMD Spectacular Spider-Man on back issues? Would love to see you guys talk about Harry Green Goblin. I mean, I love JMD. I would love to do more. The Spectacular run is very hard to find in trade, so I'd have to use floppies. I don't have a lot of those floppies anymore, so I'd have to go back and either re-find them or get like random weird printings of Spectacular. I have talked about Spectacular 200 in an episode of a show called Good, Bad, and Ugly. Go look for that. Kevin Kruger, would you all want a team with the big three and one hero from Wildstorm, Fawcett, Milestone, Charlotte? I think that's a pitch. That's a pitch. It's a fun concept, but honestly, like, I don't know if nothing that does not excite me, right? Like, I'm excited more about the idea of seeing Static on the Justice League.
Right. When
I'm sorry. I mean the Titans. Like, honestly, like if you gave me the Titans, it would look, people would be mad.
We did a pitch a long time ago for a Titans team, and my thing was like, yep, they're all young black people. That's gonna be my new Teen Titans pitch. It's all it's Static, and it's all these other people. Is who's it gonna be now? And yeah, people would be very mad. And I probably shouldn't write that book. Someone else should probably write.
Right, probably. Yeah, you'll pitch it and then give it to somebody else. But yeah, now my Titans, folks, is Gen 13 with Static on the team.
Yeah, that's right. You did pitch that. And I was like, oh, yeah, Sal would write the shit out of that book.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Heartless Fang, the team building stories where the Trinity go through each eligible hero for the team during the Meltzer era were some of my favorites. Exactly. Lobie Warsaw, thank you very much. My issue with the Justice League is that every threat has to be world-ending. But I know DC, none of that stuff will stick. It won't matter. I read team books to see my heroes interact. I want the Justice League to focus more on character dynamics. That is what I read it for. That is absolutely true. It's what I love of New Avengers for. It's what I enjoyed the DeMatteis and Giffen era for. It is team dynamics. It's characters interacting. It's, it is world-related events, but sillier because it's superheroes. Yeah,
he really does nail the acceleration fatigue thing, and that became such an issue in both Justice League and Avengers. They can't fight Darkseid and Thanos every week. They just can't. You need to do something different, and you guys seem afraid to do something different because you don't want people to be like, "Oh, this was a filler issue." Which, goddamn, I hate how the internet uses the term filler now. No, it's a character piece. It's a mood piece. Not everything that doesn't have a punch up is filler.
Yeah. No, did you know that the Next Generation has 20 filler episodes.
No,
because
really?
there's 26 issues and there's 26 episodes and only 6 of them have to do with the ongoing plot. Like, what?
Whoa.
That's called a show, people.
Again,
Like,
this is
what
totally
you're referring to when it comes to TV shows that are 6 episodes, those are just unedited movies.
Right. And again, the fact, like, I guess this is what streaming TV has done to a generation now, where everything is 8 episodes and you have to get all your ideas out in one season because you don't know if you're coming back for a second. In fact, you're probably not.
Well, and that's reflective of the industry and like how all these writers are like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get in a writer's room again. So I better say my piece and get my point out there because
right now.
It's terrible. Jay Sage says, I understand why older readers don't like the New 52, but it got a lot of us into loving DC and craving post-crisis stuff. I love you guys.
Oh,
That's
sure.
true. I mean, like, look, New 52 worked in as much as it sold and it got people to read DC and it introduced people who weren't normally reading DC to the characters. But I wouldn't say that New 52 was the best and the brightest. Like, I wouldn't say it's like, and some of the best stories written by DC characters were from the New 52. I think it was more like New 52 was a great way to introduce you. It's like how like the Phantom Menace has an awesome lightsaber fight that may make you love Star Wars, but you'll really love Star Wars because of the original trilogy.
Yeah, because to his other point, though, which again I very much appreciate, it got us in and it got us hungry for other stuff. That's another pretty classic thing for comics fans. New comics fans become old comics fans very quickly because you hear about all this other stuff and how stuff used to be, and then you either read that or you clamor for some of that for yourself.
It's so true. It's so true. Catler, the Fun for Treats. Do you think a new Avengers style Justice League could work? I would have always said that, except that then Justice League was written by Bendis and it was horrible.
It didn't work at all. So
I don't, but I think that Bendis had like other shit going on. Like, I don't think that Bendis was doing the best work. Also, I don't think that like it's not a 1-to-1. DC isn't Marvel. Marvel isn't DC. Bendis works in one place, doesn't work in the other. Same ideas doesn't work. But I think if Bendis was writing the Justice League and he had to use the international team, it would have been a better book. Like, I think it's all about the characters and the interactions and the context. Seeing Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman talking about like, washing their clothes or about like, sexual conquests or whatever. This is more Kevin Smith, but it's just like, the concept of like bringing them down to a level of like conversation. It's fun to see. You don't want to see it all the time. You don't want to demystify some of these characters because some of them are more difficult to demystify than others.
Definitely.
But yes, I do genuinely think a New Avengers style Justice League could work because I think it did work and it was called Justice League International. But even then, it didn't work enough for it to last. It also sold poorly, inevitably, and then needed to go away.
We love it now in retrospect, but
yes. And we love it now because modern comics or more modern comics have
don't do that anymore.
Well, they reflect that time. Like, they don't do it. More modern comics do what Justice League International tried then. So it seems more contemporary today. But yeah, Hobbs, I think DC doesn't like to see the Justice League change, take absolute power. The Titans are the premier super team, and yet they are nowhere to be found in any ads or previews. DC is more proud of them image of the image of Justice League. Yeah. I mean, like, look, they're Gen 13, Wildcats, Wildstorm, Deathblow. These Wildstorm characters, Team 7, Wetworks. These characters sold tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of issues in their time. There are people who love Valiant. They're Valiant fans. People who have favorite characters in the Valiant universe because those books were put out there. Dinesh, Shyam Dasani's like favorite universe is Valiant because when he was like a little boy, he read Valiant comics in the 90s because like
which is so hard
throwing them away. I know, but like you get these characters in front of people, they read them, they love them, they get invested in them, and then they want you to write stories about them. There are people who I'm sure would read or love any of these Wildstorm characters that DC now has access to. I haven't seen any of those books made any genuine attempt to come out in a decade. Like there hasn't been. I mean, there was that awful Wildcats book, which was just dreadful.
Hey, they took several swings at Grifter.
Grifter, one character, but like there are teams, there's whole universes of characters that DC has access to that they just don't.
Didn't they try a Wildstorm thing where like they were gonna start living on the Justice League satellite and it was gonna be a mix of Wildstorm characters and Justice League characters? Didn't they promise that? I think they promised that in a backup of something. Then they're like, no, we can't do that.
That's a shame because that would have been at least a neat idea. My point about the Wildstorm stuff is that they have whole universes of characters that they could just put out that have, whether they know it or not or want to admit it or not, a built-in audience that are hungry for them to return. And yet, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman put them on this cover. Titans are the exact same thing, where it's like they're a team that people clamor for and they want to see, and DC's like, here's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. That's what sells. That's what we know. They're just afraid. The Red Samurai, two things. Snyder's book was a disappointment. And he did Jon Stewart dirty. The book needs a big writer, ideally Hickman, and they need to get Jon Stewart right. But he needs updating, give him a mask as new profession. This is what McDuffie did. I don't know if I necessarily agree that Jon Stewart needs a mask. I think that Jon Stewart is a fun character who people love mostly because of the show and his relationship with Shayera and his reaction to the other Leaguers.
And I don't necessarily agree. Interesting history when it comes to race relations across the comic book form. Again, hey, other history of the DC universe was an amazing Jon Stewart story with him and Black Lightning sitting down and talking shop and everything.
Yeah. I don't know if Scott did John dirty. Scott didn't write John the way you like him, but Scott did try to elevate John.
Like, yeah, he actually did write him and made him the guy on the team, which is probably the way it should always have been. No offense to Hal, just saying. Hal has a whole universe to himself. Hal always has stuff going on. Give John something. Let him be the Justice League Green Lantern, please.
Right? I also, look, I enjoy Hickman, but I don't want Hickman on Justice League.
Yeah, I don't want, even I'm starting to reject the idea where it's like, oh, well, Hickman is the ultimate fixer. We just need to apply Hickman to everything. Just apply it to the zone and everything will be improved. No.
Yeah, I Hickman would do a phenomenal Justice League book, but it wouldn't be necessarily a book I'd want to read because, of course, what Hickman would do is he would make the Justice League endlessly smarter than everybody else and make unanimous and ubiquitous decisions behind everyone's back, and they'd be right because they're smarter than everybody else.
Oh, the appendices we would see. Yeah, the charts and graphs we would see.
Right? Lobie Warsaw, the character dynamics are also the reason why I've always liked the Titans more. They feel like friends. I'm interested in seeing what the characters do together outside of whatever monster they're fighting. Absolutely.
And that's so well said, too, because, like, what is even the Justice League's relationship anymore in this post? Yeah. Do they like each other? Are they friends? Are they, like, co-workers? Do they only come together during big events? Are they hanging out? Are they calling each other? What is even their relationship? And the answer is they don't really have one because no writer's ever really bothered in the last couple decades to really, zero in and talk about it.
Well, and like, I know Superman and Batman are friends. I've seen Tom King reinforce an entire book that I love by Wade that does that. That establishes their history, but like Wonder Woman's a tough nut to crack. So what is her relationship?
Her book is in a constant state of flux and reboot and reimagining.
Yep, she's always in a state of flux because nobody knows what to do with that character. Nobody knows what her personality is. I like the Wonder Woman book by King, but I don't like Wonder Woman. I don't find her personality to be there. And I know that
because it's always changing. There's nothing to grab on. I've liked eras of Wonder Woman, but she's not always that character.
It's true. It's tough. And so you have the Trinity. You got to get the Trinity working, and you can't. So you're not going to get their camaraderie. It's going to be weird. The Mighty Mighty Corn, DC is built around so many legacy characters, but they can never thrive because the top dogs never stay gone. It's hard to invest knowing these characters can never step up like they're meant to. Just look at Tim Drake. Yeah, I mean, like Tim can't even elevate himself as a Robin, and he's not even an A-lister. But also the problem with that analogy, and not to criticize, but like Tim Drake is more malleable and more expendable because he's not a member of the League. Like, because he's a third Robin, we could pretty much do whatever we want with him. And people will not complain by and large. And those who do weren't buying the book anyway. And that's their opinion necessarily. Like, you know what I mean?
And a lot of the time too, Tim Drake fans are just happy that he gets invited, or just happy he's involved and happy they can read about him.
Exactly. Cap lives, maybe make Justice League comics like Justice League Unlimited, different arcs and issues focusing on different characters, an anthology book. Yeah, I mean, like
that would be my pitch too, but I feel like a lot of people reject anthology stories where it's like, hey, this is different than the last one. Hey, why am I reading this if it's not connecting?
That's fair. Bryce Harriet, hi, thanks for being smart and interesting people. Thank you, Bryce, for being a supportive person. The Red Samurai, let's create an ultimate DC universe with John as the main Green Lantern, a really cool Justice League series, and the writers from the new Ultimate line, and Mark Waid. I mean, like, you got me until Mark Waid. I like the idea of Mark Waid being helpful and being a supportive writer in the DC universe, but I'm not going to hand Mark Waid an entire universe of characters. You know what I mean? Like, I just, like, he doesn't want to do that. Mark Waid loves history. He loves character. He loves the continuity. He knows it. You know, asking Mark Waid to create a whole new universe, like, he might, but it might be, I wouldn't trust it. Not necessarily because he'd do a bad job, but because I don't know if his heart would be in it.
No, yeah, I agree.
And like at this point, honestly, I think John is kind of John is not the main Green Lantern, but he is probably for a generation of fans the most recognizable.
Oh, he's arguably more famous, and there's going to be that Green Lantern show, and I wonder what that will do to perception. Because hey, we have one Green Lantern movie, and it's one of the most reviled superhero movies of all time, and it's got Ryan Reynolds' Hal in it. So you know,
I know it's true. I think if the Green Lantern movie or if the new Lanterns show focuses on John, he'll be the main standout character, and it'll help to elevate the character and give better optics for him. Archer. 2010 FX. My favorite Justice League book was JSA book in the 2000s. That was a good book. That's fair.
No doubt.
Raidu, just my crappy armchair take, but I would be fine with Justice League being relegated to only being an event book brought out only once in a while. Interesting idea. That's a neat idea. Just being Justice League is like a prestige book that only comes out like once in a while to like be
because we can't get away from them, and we're suffering from what is it the fatigue of having them to have to fight bigger and bigger threats. So yeah, you only get the Justice League once a year, and it's a special premium thing where it's like, look, this is so big, we had to get the Justice League back together for this.
Yeah. Jawan Fincher.
Let's give that a try for like a year and see if people accept that.
I wouldn't. I mean, it also would. You basically give them the Earth One approach, but not set it in another universe.
Yeah.
Oh, so like Rage of Ultron, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Jawan Fincher. I don't have any real ideas for the league. I'd want to say they should just do Justice League Unlimited with the mundity of JLI. Yeah, I'd read like the off season book about the Justice League where it's like in between.
Yeah, what do they do in between big adventures? Yeah,
that'd be fun. Leslie Myers, I agree with the New 52 comment. I got into comics in 2014 reading Nightwing New 52 trades on Google Play and watching YouTube videos like Joel's coverage on Nightwing on ComicPop. Nice.
That's right. That was one of my first things, actually. That was the first time I got a comic early, too, actually. Higgins gave me one when he really wasn't supposed to, actually. He's like, hey, don't tell nobody.
That's funny. The Space Cowboy, it's why Age of Ultron has my favorite scene to this day with everyone just hanging out, screwing around, and enjoying each other's company. That's everyone's favorite scene. I think without that scene, you don't have the modern, like you don't have the MCU. Like that scene introduces, like that scene pays off what the audience wanted to see in the MCU.
And it's so quintessentially Marvel too, isn't it?
Yeah, you're seeing these characters just hang out, watching them get a sandwich. That's what I want to watch. This guy 9947 Titans doesn't feel like a replacement as they haven't shown up anywhere but Tom Taylor books. They should appear in other series, and other members besides Nightwing should have solo series. Yep, that's another thing they didn't support.
They should be involved. They should be showing up.
Yeah, I agree. Caden McGregor, do you think too many characters belong on the league, and that is part of the issue? Someone will always be upset that the favorite is benched. I mean, everyone has their opinions about what the Justice League should look like. I think that one of the things you need to do is throw that away. And
it's such is true of every team book, not just the Justice League.
Yeah. And you don't need like a number. I know they're like, the 7, but it's like, you don't need like a number. You can it's whoever works for the writer's pitch. The Captain Coon, do a new Justice League International team put together by Booster Gold to try and elevate himself, overseen by the Trinity, because Booster, who's put the team together. I kind of love the idea that like the League steps away and they like elect Booster to make a team, and they're like, we'll be like the oversight. That's a neat idea.
Yeah, that was a thing too, where it's like, okay, would people accept a Justice League book where the idea is it's the Trinity are there, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are there, but it's more in like, an executive role and everything. We are the elder statesmen of this team. Here's a bunch of B and C listers who never like actually get the spotlight there. Would people be willing to accept that? So maybe like in every arc, you get Superman in this one, you get Batman in the other, you get Wonder Woman in the other one, but they're never all together at the same time. Would people accept that? Or has DC just brainwashed themselves into thinking, no, biggest threats need the biggest heroes all the time, always and forever?
Right. Yeah. Heartless Fang, after Gods, I feel like Hickman would be good with the Dr. Fate book or something that spans the DC universe. The darker aspects of DC Vertigo suits him. I think that he'd do Hickman doing a Dr. Fate or like not fixing, but like establishing the magic side of the DC universe would be cool.
He'd write a bunch of rules and then no one would follow it afterwards, because that's always been the case for the DC magical universe.
That's true. Thank you, Zero Zaku, for your help. Hayden Hamilton, give Wonder Woman to Danny Warren Johnson. I'd love him in the canon. Thanks. They did. He did a great job. This book called Dead Earth. Pick it up. It's worth buying. It's worth reading. It's lovely. I don't know if I want D-Dubs to do it all the time. I just want to see D-Dubs come in, do a miniseries, and get out. He's so good, but I don't want him on an ongoing. Just give him a miniseries and just let him cook. Metaphor, hey guys, did you know that Morrison brought back a New 52 Superman in Sideways Annual #1? Anyway,
no shit.
Metal spinoff. I did not know that, and also I did not read most of the Metal. I actually read a lot of the Metal spinoffs. I didn't like any of them.
I think I read all of them, and I have very little memory of most of them. Remember the Batman Who Frags was a thing they tried to get over for a minute? That was a thing. It's Batman, but he's Lobo.
Cool.
Yeah, that got a whole issue devoted to itself, a full 22 pages.
Wow. CJ Stevenson, my pitch for a JL book is a soft reboot of sorts, bring in the heavy hitters and focus on a smaller arc and more interpersonal stories. Not everything needs to be a big, bold stories. My favorite run, Meltzer, had this approach. It's true. Most of, I remember a very, melodramatic period in DC's history for the Justice League where we mostly just watched the Trinity fight with each other. And yeah, I kind of liked it more. It seems like there is a prevalence, there seems to be an ongoing opinion that people want to see these characters be characters, interact with each other, and be more relatable.
Yes, it's a recurring sentiment. Yeah, I can't remember the last time. The last time I thought they were, more relatable is when they did the smaller characters in the Snyder thing, where it's like, hey, here's a Shira story, here's a Martian Manhunter story. We're not nearly as precious about these characters because they don't have to hold down massive books on their own. So we can, have them be sad and happy and, have them be confused.
Yeah. Dex Baker, thank you for the super sticker. And Jay Sage, New Avengers style Justice League by Mark Waid and Williamson on Titans. We have great interactions, but also a story and not just fan service. Great episode, guys. Thanks for all you do. We appreciate you. Thank you, Jay Sage. Appreciate it, man. I don't know if Mark Waid is capable of giving us a New Avengers style Justice League book. I think Mark Waid is capable of the characters interact, but they don't interact like Bendis would do it. Not saying I want Bendis to Justice League. We've seen it, but yeah. I think Williamson should do Justice League. If you're gonna flip them, I'd put Waid on Titans and Williamson on Justice League. Because Waid hasn't really written the Titans before. That'd be kind of fun. And Williamson loves them.
I'm surprised they haven't tried to do something like this, because obviously Waller has taken over the old Hall of Justice now and turned into the Bureau of Sovereignty. The main three, the Trinity, seemingly don't actually own any of the copyrights to the Justice League anymore. I'm shocked they didn't try and pull a Dark Avengers where Waller's like, here's my Suicide Squad. They're the Justice League now.
Absolutely. A Dark Reign for DC would be fine.
Here's General Zod Superman. Here's Cersei Wonder Woman.
Right? Yeah. Rob F. Moon Knight #0 confirms Joe Kelly on Amazing Spider-Man. Thoughts? It's a blurry photo. I don't necessarily want to dignify leaks.
Until I know for sure.
Until I know for sure there's official announcement. I will say it doesn't surprise me. Marvel has no good ideas when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man. So I think Zeb Wells was a really great test for Marvel.
Sure was.
Where they were like, it doesn't matter. No one cares. Like, it doesn't matter who writes it. The book will sell this number regardless. So
unless Jason Aaron's Ninja Turtles comes out, in which case that will dwarf everything.
Right. Well, I mean, like, yeah, I'm glad.
And with all due respect to Mr. Kelly, you know, he's a veteran of the industry with some amazing stories under his belt and everything. People really seem to love his Deadpool Spider-Man book that I didn't read, though. If this is true, maybe we should all go back and read because it's gonna fucking come back.
I read it. Again, it's fine. Yeah.
When I see this too, I'm like, he's 53 years old. He's a couple years younger than my father. And they've chosen him to, steer the ship of our young, hip, happening Spider-Man. And I'm like, this feels wrong, but also feels like a very Marvel choice. Like you said, hey, he is an uncontroversial choice who will listen and do what he's told and not rock the ship. And won't piss anyone off. And maybe won't have to run away from social media like the last several writers had to do.
I don't know. I don't like nonstop Spider-Man. I thought it was bland and uninteresting, but Botchlow's art was fine. But that's the indication for me. I don't really care.
See, I think they want some bland and uninteresting now. It's like, oh, we got way too much hit back from this. Let's have a nice, safe, boring Spider-Man, everyone.
Honestly, in my case, I'm like, if you're going to get Joe Kelly, why not just hire DeMatteis to come back and do Amazing Spider-Man 30 friggin' years later? Like, you
might as goddamn well at this point.
Just give him the damn book. You already do, basically, because every time they have like a lesser Spider-Man writer working on Spider-Man, they pull DeMatteis out and he does a mini series.
Yeah, isn't he doing a Goblin thing right now?
He's doing a Goblin thing, and it's better than Amazing Spider-Man. KB says, I'm starting to think Justice League would have to be something so far left field to get me interested. Years of mishandling have led to apathy. Big problem.
My idea, too. They got to shake it up.
Yep. Reader apathy is a big problem, and it's something they got to fight.
And I don't know how you shake it up is the thing. Like we said, let's just do Dark Reign for Justice League. We might as well. They're bad guys now. It's a villain book.
Yeah. I mean, they should have had that out now. Like, that should have come out at the same time as Titans. The Titans fight the Justice League. That's your book.
Or Booster Gold, again, collects a bunch of C and D listers because they're the only ones who are going to join his off-brand Kirkland Justice League.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. I think Gail Simone would knock JLA out of the park. She has a great handle on team books. I'm familiar with the DC universe, but make it fresh. Maybe.
She's doing X-Men now. She can't do both, but yeah, I big agree.
Yeah. Right? Dan V900, I don't think there's great ideas for the Justice League right now. Remember Uncanny X-Force with the Dark Angel saga and Final Execution felt like an event where the team book can feel big if written well. Okay. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. I've heard some great ideas for Justice League right now. Cat Lawyer Fun for Treats, please do build a team episode for the new Justice League.
Yeah, we should. That would be a fun companion piece to this. I like that.
Yeah, not a bad pitch.
We've got to build the team in a bit, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like Thorn Identity. Always hire DeMatteis, right? Hire DeMatteis to do Amazing Spider-Man, and then you'll have room for Jeff Thorne to do a Spider-Man miniseries. But yeah, folks, that's it. Joel, what are you coming out with on Cape Joel that people should check out?
I'm finishing up House of Brainiac. I got the next issue of that there. I'm diving back into Daredevil soon. I actually missed giant-sized Daredevil, so I got to cover that before I read 10. Obviously, I got a world of great new animated stuff coming down the pipeline. If you've been loving my adventures with Superman, you got to be checking out the videos I'm dropping every Sunday. We got Kite Man coming next month. We got Hit Monkey Season 2 coming next month, and then we got Cape Crusader coming in August. So it's going to be an absolute embarrassment of riches over at the Cape Joel channel.
Very nice. Very nice. Folks, of course, if you want more of this, you can always subscribe to this channel, click the bell for notifications, and check out what we're coming out with. We always have a weekly comic book review show with my wife, Tiffany, and I talking about comic books on Monday nights around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out that show, and its repeats available on this channel as well. We just did a random, we don't do this all the time, but we thought it'd be kind of fun to do a trailer reaction to Robert Eggers' The Nosferatu movie.
Yes, I saw that.
It's kind of fun. It's a silly little try. And of course, back issues on the main channel, youtube.com/ComicPop. We'll see you guys next time with another episode of Elseworlds Exchange. In the meantime, we want to thank our super chatters for sponsoring today's show. Thank you to our chat for being respectful and cool in the chat there below. And of course, if you're watching the show after the fact, make sure to give us a 5-star rating on audio. But if you're watching it on YouTube, you can always feel free to comment and let us know what your dream Justice League team is in the comments below. We'll see you guys next time with another episode. I'm Sal. That's Joel. So long, everybody.